So there's one truth about the Galaxy Z Fold 8 and Apple's upcoming iPhone Ultra that almost nobody wants to admit. And no, it's not about the cameras, the battery, or price. It's about who actually copied whom. I've been tracking the leaks and the supply chain for months, and I think the evidence points in one direction. So let's compare the Z Fold 8 with Apple's first foldable iPhone and see what really happened behind the scenes. What's up guys, Sal here. So before we begin, a quick reminder that pre-orders for the Z Fold 8 are still live. If you're planning to pick one up, make sure to use my purchase links down below because you'll get an extra $100 off on top of all the existing offers. Alright, so let's address the elephant in the room. Did Samsung copy the iPhone Fold? Well, I actually think the answer is yes. But wait, how can Samsung copy a phone that doesn't even exist yet? Fair question, but here's the thing. Samsung Display is the company making the foldable displays for Apple's first foldable iPhone. That means Samsung has known Apple's target dimensions, aspect ratio, crease requirements, and display specs long before the public. They're not guessing what Apple is building, they're helping build it. So when Samsung already knows exactly what Apple is making and then suddenly redesigns the Z Fold 8 in that same direction, I think it's fair to ask whether Apple influenced Samsung more than people realize. And also, Samsung users have been asking for a wider fold for years. It wasn't some new idea that appeared overnight. People have complained about the narrow cover screen ever since the first Fold, and Samsung ignored those complaints generations after generations. But the moment Samsung knew Apple was building a wider foldable, suddenly the Z Fold 8 gets a much wider design with dimensions that are strikingly close to what's expected from the iPhone Fold. Could it be a coincidence? I don't think so. And this isn't even the first time. Remember the S25 Edge? Samsung made that phone after learning Apple was developing a thin iPhone. They wanted to beat Apple to market, so they launched it even before Apple had the chance to. It's another thing, both phones flopped. So no, I'm not saying Samsung copied every detail, but I do think the wider form factor and overall design direction were influenced by what Samsung already knew Apple was building. And honestly, I'm not even mad. This is how the smartphone industry works. Samsung may have borrowed Apple's design direction here, but let's not forget that Apple is entering a category that Samsung practically built. Samsung spent years refining the hardware and convincing people that foldables had a future. Apple's first foldable wouldn't even exist if Samsung hadn't paved the way for the category. In other words, Samsung may have borrowed Apple's preferred form factor, but Apple on the other hand is borrowing Samsung's entire playbook. Now with that out of the way, how similar or different are these two foldables? Well, in battery department, the iPhone Ultra is expected to have a slightly bigger battery by 200 mAh compared to the Fold 8. To accommodate that, the iPhone Ultra will be slightly thicker and heavier than the Fold 8. Samsung did make the crease look significantly better on the Fold 8, and Apple is also expected to do the same, though Apple isn't using the same tech that Samsung is using. The iPhone Ultra will also get the ultra-thin glass the Z Fold 8 has. As for the cameras, the similarities continue. The iPhone Ultra is expected to feature dual 48-megapixel rear cameras, while the Z Fold 8 has dual 50-megapixel sensors. Both also have two selfie cameras. But there's one thing about the iPhone Ultra that made me stop and think, what were they even thinking? And it's the button placement. Apple has moved the volume buttons to the top of the phone. When it's unfolded, that actually makes sense because your index finger naturally rests there. But when it's folded, it's a different story. The button sits so high that adjusting the volume with one hand becomes awkward. You'll likely have to shift your grip or use your other hand. Samsung avoids that problem completely by keeping all the buttons on the lower half, making them easy to reach whether the phone is folded or unfolded. It's just the more practical design. And honestly, I'm not even surprised. This is Apple we're talking about. The same company that made Magic Mouse and put the charging port on the bottom, which means you literally can't use it while it's charging. Thankfully, the power button stays on the side that also doubles as the Touch ID sensor. Now the Z Fold 8 starts at $1,900, while Apple's foldable is expected to start at around $2,000, with some rumors suggesting it could cost even more. So with all of that being said, which one would I think is the better foldable? Look, the iPhone Ultra hasn't even launched yet, so I can't say which one is better, but knowing everything about that phone, right now, I'd still pick the Z Fold 8. It's an 8th generation foldable. Samsung has spent years refining the hardware, software, hinge, durability, multitasking, and the overall experience. You know exactly what you're getting. Apple's first foldable is exciting, sure, but it's still a first-gen device. And history tells us that first-gen products usually comes with compromises that don't get ironed out until the next couple of generations. So if you're buying a foldable this year, I'd recommend the Z Fold 8. Let Apple prove itself first, then we'll see what the second-gen iPhone Fold brings. But one thing's for sure, for the first time, Samsung has real competition in the foldable space. And that's exactly what this market needs. Competition forces both companies to innovate faster, and in the end, we're the ones who benefit. Again, if you're planning to pick up the Fold 8, pre-orders are still live, and you can save an extra $100 using my purchase links down below. And if you want to see the 15 biggest features of the Z Fold 8, then click right here, and I'll see you there.